Hello and welcome to the next Cherish Ball interview that I am doing myself personally by the name of Spades, as usual. And my guest today is an insect, if you will, somebody who has kind of creeped his way into the scene and has emerged a champion. How are you doing, Junebug?
I'm doing great, Spades. Thank you for bringing me on. It's been a blast to listen to these, and I'm yeah, happy to chat, answer some questions.
Good, because you're getting a lot of those,
Sweet.
whether you like it or not.
Oh yeah.
All right. So why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself, who you are, where you're from, and what you do for your living.
So my name is Junebug, obviously, a IRL name John. I live in Massachusetts, much like one of my
Odie.
rivals, Odie. Yeah. I am similarly up there in age as well. And relatively, again, Pokemon years are different. And I am a tech writer and editor. So I write about Microsoft and Apple and iOS and Android and these other vendors that people probably haven't heard of about work work-based technology. So the audience for us is IT people. It's not the. It's pretty unique, I think, but it's not certainly not the most thrilling small talk conversation. I tend to lose people pretty quickly.
I mean, as somebody who works like around that, IT people are hearts and souls of companies, and so being able to help
Of
them out
course,
in any way is very, very helpful.
for sure. I think with all love and respect in my heart, knowing that IT folks have a million more hard skills and everything than I do. Uh, the IT experts that I work with are not always the best communicators because that isn't necessarily what they've spent their whole life working on. So
Hmm.
that's what we try to bring is that we put it in you know easy to understand terms, so that theoretically anyone could learn about these technologies.
Yeah, that's actually I think one of the biggest barriers in life is communication. So being able to translate what you want to do and I guess how to do it is much more challenging than people think.
Yeah, that's a kind read on what I do. I appreciate that. There are days where I think I'm really impressed with myself, and then there are some days where I'm like, yeah, but that's probably a lot of people feel that way.
Yeah, I was gonna say like,
Um,
yeah. Alrighty, let's go into the next question. So you've watched all these, so you know the next question.
I think so.
You think you know of how you got into the Pokemon scene in general, and then the competitive side.
Yeah, for sure. So I, being on the slightly older end of things, I was very young when Gold, when all of them came out, but Gold was the first one that I found on my Game Boy Color, and I absolutely fell in love with it. Remember many a long night with my IRL brother Jay's fan, who plays a couple leagues here and there. Like holding up kids nowadays will have no clue what this was like, but I sound so old there, but holding up like the Game Boy Color because it had no backlight when we were on long drives and trying to get the like street lights to like show me what I was looking at because otherwise you were just like staring into
Yeah,
a dark
so I think
screen.
I know what you're talking about. The original, or like, so the Game Boy that I played had the little light button on it, and it wasn't
Right.
on one of the older ones because I remember,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. And there was the attachment too, and I never had one of those. I'm sure our parents were fine with us not playing it, for the full. We did a lot of long car rides growing up, so a lot of opportunities there. But
Hmm.
yeah, gold is always pretty much still has been. Now it's heart gold's my favorite, but that was sort of when I first got into it, and I've played every gen since. I don't think I've quite played every game, but yeah. And in terms of competitive, you know what? It actually goes back to a friend of mine. who I was just hanging out with. We worked at a summer camp, and he had a DS, and I had no idea that competitive was. I don't know. I just knew that you played through the games and whatnot. But and he said like, oh, I have a friend who's also got someone who's played Pokemon but has never really done competitive. And you wanted to try it out. And we did 6v6 singles, and I remember I just absolutely choked. I like got so greedy, and I clicked like 3 dragon dances with the Mega Gyarados, and it just like went down, never didn't attack, and I was like so embarrassed. Um, and then later that day, I think I got on Shoddy Battle, which is a real that is like one of the first versions of what Showdown is now. And again, similarly got wrecked, and I was like, okay, I think I want to learn a little bit more about this. So then I did some, slowly worked it up. I did some breeding stuff on Omega Ruby, Alpha Sapphire, and did some singles and some doubles there, but mostly cheese, like nonsense, not really laddering or anything. And around that time too, I got once again a Reddit ad and got fully into singles for like 5 years. Like never really wanted to do doubles. So that was my speed for a while, and then I think I tried to join a VGC server, and I found out it was on the Switch, and I was like, I've never done this. I just wanted Showdown. And a guy named Kudela redirected me to Oxo's server. So technically yes, Reddit, but the long way.
So we can still blame Oxowave, is what you're telling me.
Yes. Oh yeah. Of course. I'm pretty critical when I come to leagues, and I don't want to join anything if I think there's a decent chance it'll fall apart or that the admin team is like all over the place. So this obviously Oxo's really on his stuff, and I just wanted to,
Mm-hmm.
wanted to enjoy some VGC, and yeah, we can dive into what happened next. But I was really happy. I've become fully VGC pilled. Ardo is so right. Singles is so long. Stall teleport now being as good as it is so frustrating. It's just so much faster, so much more opportunity for synergy
Mm-hmm.
in VGC.
Yeah, so one question now, which will lead into the next part, is did being somebody who won a lot of games push you to keep going?
I I think so. I mean, do you mean in any particular league or in the
Well, just the
VGC?
fact that your first like serious VGC league was Oxowave's league,
Yeah.
which I take it was
Yeah.
that was the first season you played, right? Or did you
That's
play?
right. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I joined the server just in time to watch the season one finals, and just kind of get a sense for what this was like.
And
Because I
then
had
you
always,
th-
you know,
then you decided to win the second season. You're like, "Oh, this
yeah.
looks fun. Let me try it." And here you are on
Oh,
this yellow one here. So that was your first draft. Was
first
this?
VGC draft, yes, was the
Mm-hmm.
um, the season two league. I don't think it had switched to auction yet. I think it was
No, it
launching
was Snake for
draft.
this one as well.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, that was very definitely very exciting that I was able to do that, and it's not as though I was completely new. I had watched draft content like
Mm-hmm.
everyone has with Wolfie. I had seen,
Yeah.
you know, and done lots and lots of singles, so I kind of understood how matchup and prep worked. But I definitely had a lot to learn, and learned as the season went. But I think the real story is my draft, and less so
Yeah.
my elite play.
So before we go to that, we'll just say you have won two championships within our organization, one pre-merger and then one recently. I actually want to talk about how
Yes,
you basically
yes,
won the first one you played, and I'm going to call it the last, but I think that's not accurate. Most recent season.
yes,
So
yes.
I guess how does it make you feel that I guess you started off real strong, and now you're basically hitting a really good stride going into future seasons.
For sure, for sure. I do. I do try and hold myself to like a pretty high standard with this stuff. Like I can be a pretty competitive person. I think I've dialed back some of the more uh, negative components of that, but I really do enjoy diving into a matchup and just trying to, play the mind games of what do I think they're gonna run, what do they think they're gonna run.
Hmm.
You can really get lost in that stuff, and sometimes there are no perfectly right answers. But yeah, I'm happy overall. I've played in a bunch of leagues, or a bunch of divisions, a bunch of seasons, so that definitely helps. I will say, for whatever reason, I feel almost better about getting the MVP half the time. I just love having one threat that just dominates. That makes me for whatever reason, I just really, really enjoy that. So even when I haven't performed well, like, lost early in playoffs or even missed playoffs, if
Hmm.
I just tell myself, I'm like, well, you know what, you got the MVP, so,
That's all that
at the end of the
matters.
day, that's exactly, you still got a trophy somehow.
Hmm. Yeah,
So,
definitely. So let's go ahead and dive into these drafts. So this is your first one we're gonna keep on the screen solo. This is your ADL. This was Series 9 Snake. I don't know if it was points or tiers. I guess it's points looking
oh
at
man,
it.
yeah, I don't recall. I think it would have been points
It
if
has
I
to be. This
remember
team is
correctly.
very solid.
Yeah,
And you
yeah,
can't get this with a tiers team, so.
I was extremely happy with how it came out. I think, the draft was people were still learning, much like who was it?
Hmm.
Bardo got Zacian for like really cheap, like
Yeah.
we didn't all know who was going to be worth the best value, and I don't know. There was just a lot of uncertainty, I think, early on.
Yeah, and I think speaking of that uncertainty, we have probably the most debated Pokemon for drafts on this squad.
Oh, really?
It's well, at least at the time, and
Yeah.
even still today, it's the most heavily debated Pokemon. People either really love it or really hate it. I think it's been better at the beginning of when draft really boomed, and I think as time went along, it's kind of plateaued a little bit. But at the
Hmm.
beginning, it was so powerful, and I think you know what I'm talking about.
I think I have figured it out. Would that be Colossal?
That is colossal. It was on
Oh
my
yeah,
first draft team too, so I know how strong this thing was at the beginning. So why don't you
of
go ahead
course.
and I don't know if you agree with what I said about it being like really good at the beginning and then kind of going downhill from there. I don't know if you feel the same way or I guess how you feel about Colossal in general.
Yeah, I think that's probably fair. I mean, let's be being realistic here about Colossal. I think it's way way better in a laddering or maybe any situation where you aren't 100% sure that your opponent is bringing Colossal. It was still terrific for me, and I have no negative things about it. But once people figured out my main mode was just Dragapult Colossal, Surf Volcalith, and like again that was doing work, and I
Mm-hmm.
would make minor tweaks to the muscle after it got that steam engine boost, or if I wanted to try and live something, but
We may have lost you. Uh oh. Can't lose the recording. No. Where did Junebug go? I think I'm still connected. If you can hear me, like, leave the call and join back. All right, I think we lost him. Don't know what happened. Maybe he'll come back. Okay, yeah, I think I don't know what happened. Is he back? Oh, oh, there he is. Oh, we can see him now too. Oh,
All
never
right,
mind.
how
We
long have you
can't now.
lost me for?
Uh, Probably for like 2 or 3 minutes.
Oh man, I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
it's fine.
Uh, so talking about Colossal, basically by the end of the draft, people had really figured out the the counters to it. You bring a bulky water type, and yeah, +2 max grass is going to do a lot, but it's not going to OHKO everything, especially if there's a Rindo Berry or a bulky ground, you know,
Hmm.
or something that could survive the initial super powerful hit with some good SPDF and set up Trick Room. I mean, I think there was a Hatterini that got up Trick Room in the playoffs against me. There was I think a Slow King as well. So people were able to figure out, the right ways to counter that, and I did have to start relying on some, a bit more unique sets in the playoffs. So it was an absolute regular season beast, and it got me to where I ended up. But it was it's not exactly versatile. You kind of know exactly what's coming
Hmm.
when you see it from your opponent. And I did have, I had Blastoise to proc it with Aqua Jet, so it's not as though I only had one approach. I think I tried to run a bulldoze set for the self under Trick Room weakness policy as well. That didn't go super well, so
Mm.
it's amazing, but it's I think it's pretty straightforward to counter it when you have the right setup.
Hmm. Which at the beginning, nobody really knew what Colossal did that well. I
Yeah,
think, but right before the two people won the Players' Cups with it, I think it was at
yep,
its peak. It's where it did most, like just so much work for the teams that had it. Was when
oh
nobody
yeah,
knew what it was doing, and then as time went on and it started winning like actual VGC events, that's whenever people realized how to beat it there, and then in draft it translated much easier, I think. So, but taking advantage of it when you could, yeah.
definitely. That it was huge. Again, regular season absolute monster. Um, and just it was so helpful for even if that was one of my modes, and then I could maybe try and proactively switch. Like, okay, they're gonna bring this mon and this mon to try and counter it, so maybe I can switch to my Hail Core to start, or maybe I can do maybe set up a Trick Room with Galarian Slow King and have Mudsdale. There were a bunch of different modes. Even, there was one match. One of my favorite matches was when I got to run Ice Shard weakness policy Dragapult to go against a Regigigas. That was like really fun because it felt like I always had to run support Dragapult. So to be able to like really
Hmm.
show some of its other skills and
Yeah.
it's a great offensive mon.
And I
That
think
that
that's
was
why, like, if I would say Colossal is good in draft, it's with Dragapult because Dragapult can double up as the activator and also the main threat,
right for
and
sure.
just super versatile. I think it's the only mon I would run with Colossal nowadays because it's immune to fake out. It's really fast. It can do anything you really need it to do. It can be the offense. It can be the support.
Yep. Yep. Screens, if you partake in ally switch, which
Hmm.
again I will admit I did a little bit there because there wasn't always much for it to do.
Hmm.
And yeah, you can run a mostly support set and then just have a super powerful shadow ball, without even having to invest in its offenses. So it's really got some powerful, tools,
Hmm.
great move sets and flexibility.
Yeah, definitely. So you led towards Dragapult Colossal. What other mons really stood out to you on this team?
I think I think Galarian Slow King, I think I very much underrated. Like pretty much all of these mons had their day in the sun except pretty much Ferroseed. I think that was probably like a cheap just fill out the roster, maybe mind game some people into like, oh, I don't want to die to Leech Seed protect nonsense, but I don't think I ever brought it. But Galarian Slow King was a really solid, um, bulky Trick Room, good typing. People weren't super familiar with it. It maxed for me a couple times. It's got a good move pool. That max poison doesn't on its own doesn't hit great, but if you're giving yourself and a teammate a special attack boost, that's always something you can enjoy. Can set up psychic terrain. So that definitely that one surprised me with how good it was.
Hmm. Its
People
stats
who
are
have played.
really nice. Like
Yeah,
it's got
it's
like
in the
three over
typing.
a hundred, I think.
Yeah, I think I wanted a more. I had some decent. I didn't. You know what? I didn't like Mandibuzz either. That's another thing I found. I didn't. I just didn't. It didn't work for me. Like slow tailwind was maybe what I was thinking, but I
Hmm.
just couldn't really find a great partner to take advantage of that. Snarl is good and it's bulky, but I didn't love Mandibuzz either. That was another thing. But and then people who have played with me, you know, in Mons long enough know that I absolutely have a soft spot in my heart for Obama Snow Arctivish. It is like I mean, I think I've had it in like three separate drafts at this point because no one really, I can late game just grab a Hail Core and just be able to, send off some powerful Vicious Wrens
Yeah.
out of, at double speed. Now, granted, it's slow as heck, and yeah, a good Scarfer can outspeed it, but it's just a good, for how many points I'd probably spent on that versus how much people had to think about it in
Hmm.
prep. I think it was really great. And then, I think Rhoda Mo is an underrated support mon. That's mostly what I brought it for. I don't love the fact that, it's not the most efficiently put together mon with a grass typing. You would hope that it's a ground resistance, but then you just have levitate. So there's a little bit of weirdness there,
Hmm.
but and then yeah, again, Arcanine's one of my tried and true just for how flexible it is in draft. And I did finally against this on this really tense playoff matchup against Bardo where he had Lapras, and there was pretty much no chance Colossal was going to do anything against Lapras. So I had to find something good, and I did a AV beat up Arcanine,
Yes.
and it was like, and the match was still insanely close. He had a great team, but it that did in the end carry me. I almost lost. It was such an intense match. I almost lost on like the second to last turn to a beat up self crit. I
Oh
had like
no.
I had like 3% left. Um, but then but then that was I was able to knock out I think his comfy or something like that. It was and that one that Arcanine had dig on it too. God, that was such a fun set.
Dig Arcanine. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, really cool. This was a really cool first team. What did you learn, I guess, from this season going into other seasons? Because again, it was your first league. You won, but you can always learn things. So I guess what were some of the things that you learned from this season?
Definitely learned that, and this is something I still need to learn, and we can talk about that more with my the next team. But just because a Mon doesn't have great, just because you haven't found a spot for a Mon in the regular season to perform well, in this case, talking about Mudsdale, um, I didn't find a ton of times that I was really excited about bringing it, but I knew it was a good Mon. And I was like, oh, should I drop it? Should I not? And then in the finals, it was absolutely critical. So I think just trusting your team comp, even if you don't have the right matchups, and not giving up on a mon that can help your team and does something that the rest of your team doesn't.
Hmm.
If it was another hail sweeper, then yeah, that's a little redundant. You can
Hmm.
get that stuff elsewhere, but nothing on this team was doing what Mudsdale was doing. With getting its defenses boosted up and being potentially a trick room sweeper and all that good stuff. So that was a big lesson learned, and I would also say that some singles tactics carried over. In the finals, I ran substitute Blastoise to try and like protect it from basically getting near O code by I think a Urshifu or various other mons as that came up. I ran like substitute Yawn, and I think that that allowed me to have some certainty that it was going to be able to at least take a couple hits, and it's not gonna get full just taken off the board right away. So,
Hmm.
not to write off singles tactics and to trust that, you drafted the mons that you have for a reason, and don't give up on them basically.
Yeah, I think that's a great takeaway from this being your first season. Do you remember who you played in the finals? I'm just curious.
Jamesy.
Oh, you played James. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, no, he and I think he was my only regular season loss, or maybe one of the two of them.
Mm.
But it was week 8, and we weren't like, I don't necessarily think we were going at it our hardest. And he actually, no, this was actually pretty good. He had I have the team up here. I have the match up here.
Oh
I used
God.
Google Sheets for that, and it was I remember he double sucker punched my my Colbert Dragapult, so I couldn't get up the surf. I think he did that in the regular season, and I was like, all right, forget this. Like, yeah. So that was a really fun match. He had a great trick room core, so I was like, man, this is not a great colossal matchup. So I don't think I even brought it the second match of that set, and yeah, yeah, very fun season. And happy with the team looking back. This is probably my favorite team ever, just because it has I just you know I liked almost all of these mons, and could have brought them pretty much every week.
Hmm. Yeah, it looks like a really fun team to pilot as well. So yeah,
Yeah.
very nice start. So after quite a bit,
Yeah.
you finally picked up your second championship with us,
Mhm.
and this was a different format. This was another Oxawave division. So
Oh, yeah.
maybe that's what the key is just to play Oxawave
I
divisions.
love the weird divisions. I love them so much. That's why I've loved Safari as well.
Yeah, so this was auction no max with some mons included, and nat decks of course. And yeah, you have this team.
Yeah, yeah. What's the mythicals? I think
Yeah, there was
that's the
mythicals
notable
definitely allowed, and then some restricteds that we felt like were lower
that weren't that good. Yeah.
were allowed, and you abused the hell out of that.
And for some reason, Mega Blastoise was allowed.
Yeah,
No,
so
I mean
yeah, why
this
don't you
this
talk
was
about this team is kind of just a team,
for
I guess.
sure.
Yeah.
This was an auction, so this was it's not as though so I was able to luck into the first pick and got Mega Blastoise or Melmetal. It was everyone was kind of fighting for the mons that they wanted, and I think I lucked out a little bit here with just in terms of people not being interested in certain mons that I really liked. I love Melmetal. I've used it before. I mean, it's an absolute beast. It just chunks through anything that pretty much isn't a bulky water or like a bulky support fire mon. And even then, it's got coverage for that. But I'm pretty much running double Iron Bash on that thing, or body press. And yeah, Mega Blastoise. I mean, I think I brought it every time. It was kind of fell into a similar Dragapult thing with the last team where I was like, this is such a good mon that it's great offenses and all this fun stuff, but also like an insanely bulky water type follow me is like it's just so hard to not bring that every time. It's
Mhm.
always helpful. It will always help, especially with pairing it with some of these offensive threats I had, like special attacks against Melmetal. Blastoise will just eat those.
Mhm.
Ground attacks for Smell Metal or Entei. It has a lot of options, and I mean, Follow Me is just so good. There's so little counterplay to it, and then I could barely invest in its offense, and it would just rip off Dark Pulses and Water Pulses that would you know do nearly 50% to almost anything, if not more. So there were a couple things I really keyed in on. Those were probably the main two that I was like, I can build a team around this. If I get these two, they synergize really well. Both good offensive types. And then I wanted to really try out Necrozma because no one really seemed to care about it. In retrospect, would I have been better off with a regular Trick Room setter that didn't have 79 speed to enable Melmetal? Probably, but Necrozma was a really unique bond with some great stats and some fun moves. And honestly, my season really turned around when I won, realized that all right, I need to make sure that I can kill these bulky waters because they were kicking my butt. I mean, there was a
Yeah.
set early on where I just couldn't get a Suicune off the board. It was just impossible. I was just hitting it with attack after attack, and it was just super defensive. And Raichu's an electric type, but it's not gonna be. I'm not running Specs Thunderbolt there, and I don't
No.
have a grass type, which was probably the biggest, most obvious flaw in my draft. Looking back on it, and I realized that at the time. So I had to get a little bit unique with it, and I decided to sort of switch my whole mode to can I get Melmetal in Trick Room and just let it run wild. That became my goal from like week 3 or week 4 on.
Hmm.
Yeah. So I don't know. What's is there anything that sticks out to you about this team, or that
I
you,
mean, I
you
guess the
thought?
first thing is that you have three quote unquote mythicals. How did
Yeah,
how did you feel? I guess going so order wise, I think you bought Blastoise Mega from what I hear, and then you went
I
to
believe
like
so. Yeah.
Metal, and did you go Zygarde and Necrozma towards the end? Is what I think.
No, I think Zygarde was at the end, kind of just a little bonus. I thought it could be really good. It was a little disappointing. And yeah, Necrozma was also towards the end because you know
And nobody
I think
knew what it was doing. Yeah.
yeah, it's not amazing at any one thing other than sending off powerful psychic attacks.
Yeah.
So but the fact that it turned into like my de facto trick room enabler. Again, I know Dialga and like some fast mons can run trick room, but it was just kind of funny how I had to look at my team comp and be like, all right, how can I really get this Melmetal going and keep it safe from
Yeah.
biggest threats on the opposing team. And yeah, I saw Necrozma. I probably thought maybe Trick Room sometimes, but I definitely didn't think it was going to become the main like mode that I would be going to. That was very much a surprise for me. And it worked out tremendously.
Yeah. Melmetal is quite strong, and getting it to where double Iron Bash can actually flinch people is just a
Oh
nice
yeah.
bonus.
Yeah, you basically got a Jirachi, hitting iron, more powerful iron heads
Hmm.
with the flinch chances.
Yeah. So looking at, I guess, the finals that you played, there was a
Yeah.
mon that we didn't talk about yet that I think had a really giant impact in at least that match, and I'm guessing matches prior to it. How do you feel about Umbreon?
Well, I kind of mentioned this earlier, but it was a Mon. So, man, I forget. I think it was Dale. I was like week 3. I was off a really bad loss. It was the Suicune match, I think. I had tried to fake out the Suicune. I was just a freaking mess. I was doing all these sorts of things wrong. It was embarrassing, and I was like, I need to. I'm not usually a big like free agent guy, but I was like, maybe I need to redo this team comp. And I posted it in just like the general chat. I was like, should I drop Umbreon? I haven't brought it once. Blah blah blah. And Dale just no. And I was like, that's a pretty good point. And then I think I literally pulled up all the teams in the division, and I was like, is Umbreon gonna help me against some of these? And then you know, I got to 2 teams. One of which was pho or pho. I don't. I
Hmm.
know it's
Yeah.
the soup is pronounced pho, but
Sweet
and
Pho.
yeah, yeah. And then I looked and I was like, oh wow, 3 psychic types.
Hmm.
That actually might be pretty critical. And then Hasugal and Deoxys attack spam, and I was like, okay, maybe
Maybe you
Umbreon
need the dark
has a
type.
spot. Exactly, yeah. Because again, without Umbreon, there's no chance I'm winning that finals match. There's absolutely zero chance.
Yeah, it caused him a
But
lot of
yeah,
problems. He had to run Focus
oh yeah,
Blast, which we know how
yeah.
Focus Blast goes at this point.
I
It's
know.
either miss or
I felt
miss.
yeah, I felt bad that a miss basically secured me game one, and I felt horrible. But he was just like, "Listen, man, you forced me to run Focus Blast. Like
That's a win in
that in
itself.
and of itself
Yeah.
is a win for you." So yeah, so Umbreon was it only came to two matches,
Hmm.
my week 7 and then the finals. But again, similar to what I said about Mudsdale previously. Don't if you know it's a good mon, and if you know it has some matchups and it does something unique that the rest of your team can't do, you gotta trust it. You gotta
Hmm.
be ready to bring it if you run into those matchups. You know, I mean, I could have probably gotten some crappy grass type for
Yeah.
Umbreon and just lost in the playoffs, and
Yeah.
that would have been a
Especially
bummer
whenever
for
your
sure.
resist to it is dies gets
Gosh.
two shot by expanding force.
Yeah, two shot. My if he was that thing was ready to one shot half my team. Honestly,
Yeah.
I had like a heart attack when my Necrozma went down
That was insane.
to
Yeah, it was.
expanding force turn one. I thought that match was over already. That was crazy. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh man.
absolutely nuts. So yeah, this team I think was regarded by many to be the best. I think it just looked incredible on site with the Blastoise Mega, with the three mythicals. But really, it has great balance, speed control, and stat manipulation, typings. It's
Mm.
got really good. Other than what you said about the bulky waters, but other than
Yeah.
that, this team feels really complete. And I don't mean that
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
because Zygarde could not be complete. Zygarde was halfway
No,
there.
Zygarde was not complete. Zygarde mostly died to like two
Ice
dazzling gleams after
or
getting one
that, yeah.
attack off. It was unfortunate.
Hmm.
But yeah, and it's funny about the bulky waters. Circling back to the other lesson I had from the first team, I just started putting toxic on stuff, and I knew my team was bulky, and I was
Your
like, all right,
single
like
strats again.
I know, yeah. I was like, how do I take care of this? Am I gonna run like Mystical Leaf on Sylveon? Like that doesn't do anything. So I just started putting all the water types on a timer, like Gastrodon, Milotic, some other ones that I ran into, and I was like, the second I got the opportunity, I was like, boom, you're on a timer. And I mean, this season, not to step on the toes of a potential question, but running Protect is like eating your vegetables. It's never like fun to be like, oh wow, my fourth move is Protect. That's gonna be so heat. But like Protect literally like probably won me both my playoff games with how just like putting yourself in an opportunity where if you're making a read and then they double into a Protect, like that you get a free switch, you get a free attack, you could it's
Hmm.
just so it's never fun or whatever. And obviously Protect is an amazing move, especially in a non-max format, but I mean it was Protect, like basically, as dumb as it sounds, like that pretty much won me. I feel like my two playoff matches.
Yeah, whenever you get to increase your clock by double at that point because you
Yeah,
get an extra turn like every 2 turns, which
for sure.
is really great. So yeah, very cool season run you had with this. Stormed your way through that playoff bracket. Were you one of the top seeds?
Yeah, I was. The buy system was crazy for this. I only played two matches
Mm-hmm.
in the playoffs, so I think I secured the one seed against week 6 or 7, however, the last week.
Mm-hmm.
Again, after being 1 and 2 and being like, do I need to tear this whole team apart? So yeah, I was pretty happy to get that. I got a little antsy, like I'm sure plenty of people do, with
Mm-hmm.
with just like going like 3 weeks almost where you're like, all right, I want to play, I want to play the playoffs. But yeah, obviously you play the regular season to have a shorter path to the finals. So I was
Mm-hmm.
I was very happy with with that, and with only having to beat Odie for like that was
The 30th
maybe the real
time.
trophy for me. Yeah, Odie has had my number historically. I've lost several times in the playoffs to him, so that was like a real overcoming overcoming a long time
The next
someone who's
milestone reached.
yes,
Defeat
exactly,
Odie.
just a little feather in my cap, finally being able to win against Odie
You gotta add that to your trophy case.
for sure.
Yeah. So you answered the question before about which was your favorite team. You said your first one was.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I liked some of the Mons on the second team more, but just in terms of the overall, the second team was a Blastoise, Melmetal, Carry,
Mm-hmm.
Blastoise, Melmetal, and Necrozma carry most of the season. Once I finally figured out what I was doing, I liked the sort of, the bigger versatility and more options of the
Mm-hmm.
previous team.
I thought you were gonna say you liked the Blastoise team more.
I love Blastoise too. What can I say? Though I don't think it got follow me
No, it
in
didn't,
that previous
which is
format.
unfortunate.
Yeah, that would have
Well, I
been
guess it's
busted.
fortunate
Yeah.
that we don't have to deal with it in Sword and Shield, but
Oh man, I know.
when it's
Believe me.
Nathex, you can follow me all day long.
Oh yeah. Same with Raichu. That was sweet.
Mm-hmm. But Zycard still sucks.
Yeah. I mean, if someone told me they had a good way to enable it, that's fine. But I couldn't figure it out. I
Yeah.
tried band. I tried Dragon Dance next to a follow me. It was it didn't work for me. Maybe it could work for others, but it was a cheap, little risk to take. It's maybe I can, because people aren't familiar with this, maybe I can get some
Mm-hmm.
real value out of it. I don't know.
Yeah, it's a very hit or miss, I think.
Yeah.
All
Oh
right.
my gosh, man, how long has this interview been? I'm so sorry.
Yeah. Oh no, you're good. It's been 41 minutes, so we're gonna go
Oh
ahead
my
and go to the
goodness.
last question. The last
Great.
question. We're going into this is the last division of Sword and Shield draft.
Hmm.
This is the highest competitive division, and it is going to be basically a whole different experience than basically any other draft any of these players are going to be playing in, including yourself. So, how do you feel going into this division with these players who are have shown that they can win divisions?
Yeah, exciting. I love, high level competition. Anxious, but hopeful that I can really deliver. Like I said, I have high expectations for myself. I'm probably going to take this one a little bit more seriously than I have. You know, there's always degrees to how much how much time you can spend prepping and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll definitely take this one a little bit more serious, knowing that some really talented battlers here, and yeah, overall I'm just excited. I feel like honestly I feel like getting my butt kicked is like what motivates me more than like doing well. When I do poorly, I'm like, all right, I need to be better. I need to work this out.
Yeah, and you're actually one of the few people to have multiple division wins. Does that play into your anxiousness a little bit? That like you've done it twice, so you have a little bit more going your direction.
I suppose so. I mean, there are, plenty of people with, or maybe not plenty, but there are some people with, three and more. So I know I'm certainly not at the top of the mountain in that regard. But yeah, I'm confident in myself as a battler. I think it's gonna the how how I get the team looking after the draft is gonna be huge. I think that's gonna determine a lot if I get a team I'm comfortable with. But yeah, I think it's everyone's starting 0-0 week one, so there's no, you don't get to bring your titles, and they
No,
don't count for
and
anything
they
once
mean
the
nothing
season
now.
starts. Exactly.
Well, they don't mean nothing, but
No, in the sense of the division, it's
yeah,
not like you get a free head start on everyone just because you have, a Cherish ball next to your name or multiple.
everybody has that now. So
Yes,
everyone
exactly.
in that scheduling channel will be red, unlike other divisions.
Yeah. Oh man.
So yeah, it's going to be fun. Has winning a Series 9 division, I guess, does that make you a little bit like more confident?
Maybe I do tend to think I do better without maxing though, so I'm not. There's just a little more certainty there.
Hmm.
When you protect, this, nothing bad is gonna happen, and theoretically, that you know you can guarantee, like, all right, I live any attack from an adamant choice band. This thing, it's like, well, what if it maxes? Then, so there are more factors to consider, which I think, there's a little bit more guessing at play of when the max is coming and all of that stuff. But like anything, you just have to learn to play around it. And it's not something I feel horrible about, but I'm a little more comfortable in non-max format. So this will be a fun challenge again.
Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to it. It's going to be the most engaging, most hype, most difficult division. So, very happy that you are going to be joining us.
Yeah, happy to be part of it. And sorry again about that audio malfunction. Hope that
That's
doesn't
fine.
cause any problems for you.
We've made it this far. We're good. Don't worry about it.
Great,
So
great,
that's
great, great.
going to wrap up the interview. Junebug, any final regards?
No, just thanks for doing the interviews. Thanks to the whole Silphco team for keeping this Discord server up and running and active and all that. That I know how much work that can be, and yeah, just really excited for things to get going.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. So, without further ado, my name's Spades, my guest Junebug, and we are out.